What's up guys, it's your favorite Kiwi coach, and give me 6 months of your time and I'll give you the best golf swing of your life. So welcome back to the channel. In this particular video, if you guys have watched the series where we went to instructors and we had them come to our channel, talk about the right hand, give you all of the checkpoints, give you common client errors as well as their best fixes. If you enjoyed that series, well, you're gonna love this video because it's really just the wrap up of everything that was discussed, the takeaway points for you guys at home. So let's go ahead and jump in. But before we get into the video, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, and as you guys know, that is Kiwi Golf Japan. All of these videos with these instructors would not be possible if it wasn't for our membership site, and it pretty much pays for all of our video production. So if you guys wouldn't mind, after this video is over, go ahead, check out the link down below, sign up for our Kiwi Platinum membership site. It really helps support this YouTube channel, and without it, we wouldn't be able to bring these videos to you. So let's go hop into the video now. So everyone watching this video currently is watching it on YouTube, and YouTube is just such a powerful platform when it comes to golf instruction and being able to get great advice. Now the issue arises when you're on YouTube is it seems like every other golf instructor has a different theory, different advice, and it can get quite confusing on, what advice is the best advice. And that's exactly why we started this series. We wanted to go over to golf instructors throughout Japan, talk about a specific topic like the right hand, and then make them all do the video in a really structured format so that we could see, are there similarities or are there differences? So in this particular video, what we're going to do is we're going to show you, are there similarities or are there differences when it comes to the right hand for all of the instructors that we actually interviewed and had on this channel. So we're going to start off with the checkpoints first. I'm going to discuss, are there similarities between the checkpoints amongst all the instructors? And then also, are there some maybe not similarities amongst the instructors throughout all the checkpoints? Once we get past the checkpoint section, then I'm going to go into kind of the client typical errors. Do we see the same type of errors amongst clients with these instructors? And then last but not least, we'll do the same process with the actual fixes that they recommended. So if you guys are psyched on this, I'm really hyped. Let's go ahead and jump in. So before we start to get into the checkpoints, let's understand the instructors that we had on this channel. So Togi-san, I would classify as very much a very feel instructor, right? He's all about the feeling and he's that style of coach. Matsuda-san, I would say he's a blend of kind of feel as well as he adds a little bit of kinematics in there, so he likes to talk about the body as well. But he's also kind of similar to Togi-san in terms of he kind of has a default setting of focusing more so on feel. And then last, Kono-san, as you guys could probably tell as well as in the comments we saw that, he's closer to what I like to teach, a little bit more of a logical approach. And not necessarily, it's feel-based, but not necessarily too feel-based, like there's actual specific ranges. I'm under the impression that not one is better than the other. I think they all have their benefits depending on who they're trying to help. So certain clients are going to be much better going to a field coach versus other clients should probably go more so to a logical coach. So that's not what I'm trying to talk about in this particular point in the video. But I just want you guys to understand before we start to go into the checkpoints and, are there similarities, you should understand what type of coaches these coaches were. So let's start to get into some of the similarities amongst these coaches when it comes to the checkpoints. So after reviewing the footage, when it comes to the checkpoints throughout the backswing for the right hand, actually they were pretty much identical throughout all of the coaches. And if you guys go through and watch the videos, you guys would come to the same conclusion as well. To give you a perfect example of this, let's go to position 2. All the coaches said that you want to see the club head from the down the line view really close to the hands. Maybe a little bit outside the hands is okay, or a little bit inside the hands is okay. All of them, though, under investigation, after I asked a few more questions, all of them came up with that visual checkpoint. Same thing for the leading edge at position 2, right? You don't want to see the toe up towards the sky. None of them said that for a checkpoint. Most of them wanted to see it angled down right around 15 degrees. So if you go through those videos and watch them, all of those checkpoints are actually identical when it comes to the backswing as well as the downswing, which was really what I thought was quite interesting. Now, as a common spectator, you guys might not have gotten that because I know with the different styles of these instructors, the way that they said the checkpoints were completely different. Togi-san was much more of a feel instructor, so he's saying, you had to feel like you were in this certain place. And then also Matsuda-san, kind of a similar thing, you need to kind of feel like you're in this certain place. And then Kono-san actually gave you the visual checkpoints. But all of the instructors, once I questioned them in a little bit more detail and I specifically told them, what would be the visual checkpoints, they actually all gave the same visual checkpoints when it comes to the backswing as well as the downswing with the right hand. And this is something that I thought to be true with almost all golf instructors throughout Japan. I think if you actually got them to say the visual checkpoints, which not a lot of them do, but if they did, I think everyone would pretty much agree within a certain degree of where those checkpoints should be. Now, yes, there are a few instructors that maybe want the club head a little bit more outside the hands than other instructors, or maybe the top of swing should be a little bit more crossed than other instructors, or maybe the takeaway is a little bit wider than other instructors. But within a degree, they're pretty close together in terms of what are the checkpoints they want. And I think a lot of you guys out there didn't believe that. I think a lot of you guys out there thought that they were completely different. But I can guarantee if I go, interview 100 more instructors about the right hand and had them tell me the visual checkpoints, I think they would all agree within a certain degree. And that's quite interesting. So the next part of the video is going to be talking about what are their typical client issues that they see when it comes to the right hand. So now when it comes to similarities, actually, if you watch the videos closely, they were all showing the same types of models of golfers amongst all of the instructors. Right, so maybe one of them would be the club head was kind of inside and then crossed and then kind of flattened on the downswing. Maybe one was a little bit more vertical on the backswing and then vertical on the downswing. But for the most part, the issues in terms of what you would typically see as an issue for a client was pretty much identical amongst them. Now, this probably wasn't what you guys took away from it, and the reason why it was really comes to the differences in how they actually talked about it, which the focal point or what body part they were discussing and kind of what was the issue of that was slightly different amongst the three. So Matsuda-san was heavily focused on the body and, this body part caused this to happen and this is why this is bad. Now, unfortunately, we were trying to keep it under the context of just the right hand, so some of these instructors kind of went outside of the parameters of the video. This is why I think you guys might have been confused, and this is something that I think similarly to YouTube, you guys might get confused as well, is you hear these instructors have different focal points, but really, if you visually look at the swing of what they're demonstrating what is bad, there's really common models of swings out there that all of you guys probably fall amongst, and I would say maybe 3 models would be the case. So to wrap up that last section, to review, I would say in general, the models of swings or the typical clients they have were pretty identical amongst the 3. The focal points or how they explain why it's bad and what body part they focus on was definitely different. But really, if you take a look at the visual, the checkpoints, it was pretty much identical amongst the 3. Let's move into the final section of the video. So the final section of the video is going to be how to actually go ahead and fix the issues that those models of golfers had. And I could say in terms of similarities amongst them, this is probably by far the most difference in terms of that. I would argue that there probably was maybe almost no similarities. I think that maybe if I watched a little bit more one more time, I could find a few similarities. But for the most part, the way that they all went about trying to fix it was definitely completely different. So this will be an interesting part, so let's go break that down further. So here at Togi Golf Japan, when we are trying to actually fix our clients, we typically like to start off from the checkpoint. So, typically, let's say for P5, your shaft is at 20 degrees. We want to see it 35 to 40. We then establish that really the wrists and the forearms are directly correlated to fixing that shaft position. We then have our players go through a simple how much and when process, how much of the opposite feeling should I feel? When should I start to do that feeling? When should I reach the full amount, right? All of that good stuff. And then from there, we have the client make a golf swing, and then we check their swing to see if they actually did the feeling that they were attempting to do. And then also, did we get within the correct checkpoints, right? That would be our typical process of how to change something. Now, when we move on to maybe, let's say, Togi, that would be completely different than the process that we would typically do. So he's going to be more so based off of feeling and saying, hey, you should feel this. This is kind of like an image. This is going to be maybe something that it should look like. If you could do it like that, most likely you are going to get into a better swing position. And from there, there's not necessarily him filming every single golf swing. It's more so the client is making the swing. Togi-san himself is going to tell you if it's good or not. And again, it's a very feel-based approach. Now, when it comes to Matsuda-san, I think that he's a little bit of a blend between kind of my style as well as Togi-san. So definitely much more on a feel-based approach. But when we did question him a little bit further on in the video, he did say that he likes to video a lot of the golf swings initially, and then draw those lines and then have those checkpoints, and then use that feeling that he's trying to recommend to them, or use the body part that they're trying to move differently, and then actually show them on camera if it's different or not. So, it's pretty close to kind of what we do, but I still think it's a little bit more heavily feel-based than the process that we use. But that's kind of the process that he took. Now, when it comes to Kono-san, because he kind of learned from us initially, and he's definitely inspired more so from like Western golf instruction, I think he'd probably be very close to exactly kind of the way that we teach it, except for I'm sure the way that he explains it is more kind of fitted towards the Japanese audience than we are, just because I am a Western golf instructor. So actually, it might be a pretty good combination there. But for the most part, Kono-san is going to be identical to us. So he's going to have the checkpoints of what's the OK zone. He's going to give you a basic feeling or a basic body part. He might even give you like some sort of training aid that's going to help you with that feeling. But essentially, he's trying to give you some type of feeling cue that if you can do, hopefully it's going to change the position that you're trying to look for. And then from there, we'll check the golf swing and see if it actually changed, and then kind of go through that process. So that's kind of Kono-san's. So to wrap up those 3 sections, we can say that the checkpoints amongst the instructors for the right hand were pretty much identical. Just go through and watch the videos. Once I start to question the instructors about the specifics of the visual, they all pretty much said the same thing when it came to the checkpoints. Now, when it comes to the typical client issues, same thing, right? They all pretty much said the identical swing issues once we kind of further questioned them. Last but not least, when it comes to the actual approach of fixing it, that by far, in my opinion, is really the biggest difference between them. And honestly, I think that's quite fair, right? If all of us can agree as instructors on basic checkpoints, and most likely we should agree as well as typical issues because we all see pretty much the same issues, I think that's fair game. And then when it comes to kind of how you try to fix it, that's a good way and maybe, trying to differentiate yourself from other instructors. And I think as long as we can kind of agree on the first 2, maybe for you guys out there as viewers who are trying to get better watching our content, I think that if that's kind of more standardized and people are more clear and specific with that, I think you guys would also be okay with being like, okay, well, this instructor, they all kind of agree on the basics here. I like this instructor because the approach that he tries to fix it is more tailored to what I want. I think that's a better way for us as golf instructors, as well as you as viewers, to be able to start to kind of digest this content and start to get better. So moving forward, we are not ending this series because we know it's incredibly popular and you guys really enjoyed it. There's lots of comments and we want to continue this. So the next one that we're going to be doing in terms of topic is going to be about shallowing. I know that a lot of you guys out there think that when it comes to shallowing, different instructors teach it way different than the others. And that might be the case or that might not be the case, just like we found out with the right hand. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to maybe take a few of the instructors that we worked with last time and maybe have them on again if you guys would so like. Definitely make sure to comment and let us know which instructors you guys want us to have on the channel again. But also the main goal is we want to go to new instructors as well, because we don't want to just continue to keep showing the same 4 instructors, because that's not showing us kind of the whole industry's take, and that's kind of the purpose of this series. So we're hoping to find some other instructors that are interested. If you are an instructor watching this currently, and you think that you might be a good candidate for this type of video, where you think you have some interesting thoughts on shallowing of the club, definitely make sure to let us know. You can hit us up at kiwigolfjapan@gmail.com. Maybe go to our Instagram, you can direct message us there as well. But we'd love to have you in one of these videos if you're an instructor. And for you guys, the viewers, don't worry. We have many interesting topics like shallowing and other body part movements that we're going to be highlighting with this series, and there's a lot more to come. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next video.